chunky. Yes, you are. Yeah. Okay. Eventually it's going to come up, right? It's going to come up. Yeah? Yeah? What's your tail? Is it happening? Is it? There we go. All right, it's happening. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Used to Have a Problem. It's Friday. What a week. So today marked the 9th straight day the SPY has had positive gains. Ninth straight day in a row the SPY has had positive gains. This has only happened about once out of 100 years. Not really, no, it's 0.25% of the time I've done a streak like this, and it is something that only happens during recessions. So people claiming that we're not in a recession, well, there's yet another recession indicator for you, other than the fact that our GDP shrank. That's basically the only economy on Earth whose GDP shrank last quarter. So, way be an outlier, America. Also, Jim Cramer said that we're not going to hit a recession. So, call your mother, start making amends, see if she's got a space in the basement for you, because we're going to hit a recession real hard. Remember, 5 to 7 weeks of full inventory for stores before things start to dwindle at this rate. And even if we did drop all tariffs all of a sudden at once, you're looking at 30 to 50 days before those ships have left China and reach here. So we're still going to face some sort of scarcity as a result. Apparently the Trump administration has been like calling the Chinese, begging for negotiations. And the Chinese are on a week-long holiday this week, so they haven't been available. It's like, the Chinese won't talk to us. Yeah, because they're all on vacation, buddy. So finally someone reached out from the Chinese embassy and was like, here's what you can do. Stop all tariffs. And then they hung up the phone. So, well, okay then. That's the starting point, right? You know what they want in the negotiations. So now it's just a game of chicken. And quite frankly, I think we're going to blink. We're going to swerve that car out of the way. The Chinese do not care. GME still floating, between 27.5 and 28, just kind of doing its thing. Implied volatility is way down. At the money, $27 at the money calls have a 39% implied volatility. That is insanely small. So, I bought a bunch. Yay. And what else you got going on, monkey? Looks like Finger had a nice little pop right at the end of the day and into after hours. What are they doing here after hours? They are sitting at 272 was the close, and now 280 after hours. So the buzz is happening on Finger. And what else is happening? It looks like the Judge Dugan, the county court judge from Wisconsin, who was arrested for aiding an immigrant or obstructing the arrest of an immigrant. Looks like she's got the best lawyers on planet Earth, all working pro bono, including like former Solicitor Generals of the United States government working on her behalf. And the first initial hearing did not go well for the feds. So it looks like she's going to get off easily, and it's going to be a major embarrassment for the Trump administration. They fired Mike Waltz, although they're now going to make him the UN ambassador because he can't be trusted to work in national security. Now the rumor is that Stephen Miller, the gargoyle Nazi himself, is up for national security advisor. That will be an amazing hearing. So it'll be amazing to see him have a hissy fit in front of anyone who's qualified and smart. He does very well yelling at people, not a very good job interacting with them. He will also be a terrible national security council chair, as well as harbinger of death for many Americans in that role. So, we got that to look forward to. Any happy news, Monkey? I mean, the Mariners won again. So that's yet another series win for them, I believe. I think, well, if they win tonight, I think it's another series win. No, it was a 2-game series against. Now they're against Texas. So yeah, another series win for them. I made a comment on Facebook about baseball, and Mitch Haniger, former Mariner great, who's now I guess retired, liked it. So that's always a good sign that you're making good comments on the internet when the baseball pros are like. And that's all I got. That's Friday. You guys will throw things at me, and we will talk about it then. So for Friday, we haven't done in a while. We haven't done. Let's see here. Which one shall we do? Okay, that's daytime 2. We did daytime 2. We haven't done the butterfly in a while, but that's a long one. It's you know what? We'll just do daytime 2 because we're only doing an hour-long show. I don't want to waste it with butterflies flying around and then spend all this time yelling at whatchamacallit to get them to monetize my show.
Houston, we have a problem.
Oh, okay. Let's turn it off. Boom. Okay, what do we got? Murph Studios was first. Nice job. Murph also says, I'm fine with Grand Theft Auto 6 being postponed if it means we get the MOAS first and I can play it nonstop until my eyeballs melt. I have a feeling I would be doing that as well. Although I am bummed that it's postponed until next May, so we got a year to wait. And if the tariffs and inflation are any indication, it's probably going to cost like $200 for that game at this point. So, I guess we'll wait. When did GTA 5 come out? 2013? So we're on 12 years of GTA 5. We'll be at 13 years of that sucker moseying about. That's impressive. That's impressive hang time for a game that's still making like cajillions of dollars a year. The World Ding Dongs, Houston. Target is now charging market price for Pokemon cards on Target website, or not disclosing that is a third-party seller. They are coming for our grandmas, your Pokemon card correspondent. I honestly don't necessarily know what all that means. I know what Pokemon cards are. I understand what a third-party seller is. I know what not disclosing it means. I don't know anything else. So, I mean, at this point, Target's going to have to do what they have to do because the very, very, very successful boycott of Target has taken their stock price down a whole bunch. Sales are down about 15%. If you guys don't know why people are boycotting Target, basically, Trump administration's like, you end all DEI now! And Target was like, okay, sir. And so all the minority shoppers were like, well, we're never going to shop at Target again. Well, that's a huge portion of your customer base. And Costco gave the finger to the Trump administration, so all those folks who shop at Target are now shopping at Costco, and Costco sales have gone up by almost the same amount. Like, you have the hateful, bigoted people who are anti-gay, anti-trans, whatever, and hate their lives, usually because they're living in some sort of deep, 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 deep closet. They're like, I'm never going to shop at Target again. Look at, they've got rainbows on t-shirts. And they freak out. They're not very successful at boycotting for a couple reasons. One is they actually don't boycott anything. They still go to the store and shop. They just do it and go harumph and get angry at the displays. And two, there aren't enough of them to actually impact anything, because when you get down to it, most human beings do not give a shit. They can just not buy a rainbow t-shirt. It's pretty easy. They just go, I'm not going to buy that t-shirt. But when you actively work against significant portions and demographics of the population, and they've got other options, they're going to use them. So they're just not going to shop at Target. Sorry, Target. So I don't think your post was anything about that at all, about Pokemon cards. But they're going to have to pull all the stops, I guess, to get people to buy things, anything from them. Brandon Wells, Sup BBY, Sup No Labs. BBY front in the 16B lawsuit. I forgot to put this in the description. Ryan Cohen finally answered the complaint. Basically, if you ever read an answer from a complaint, it is, You know, the defendant affirms this, the defendant denies that, the defendant can confirm, the defendant can neither confirm nor deny, defendant blah, blah, blah. And they just go line by line through the complaint with every single solitary sentence, and they address every single solitary claim made in the complaint. And then once you get that out of the way, then you start going to the research and discovery process. And that can take months and months and months and months and months. My guess is that Hunter is probably going to offer to settle or withdraw the case. Mainly because the way the wording of the court ruling with regards to the dismissal was like, we dismiss this half of it, we don't dismiss this half of it. It essentially makes it so that there's no monetary gain for the estate. And why would you go through with all this if there's not going to be any monetary gain? That's the entire purpose. You just could be wasting time and energy that could be spent on HBC or whoever else. Speaking of HBC, the other half of HBC, the retail corporate giant Hudson Bay Company, not Hudson Bay Capital, Hudson Bay Company, is on the verge of declaring bankruptcy. It's a company that's been around for almost 400 years, 300 and something years. It's the oldest company in North America, and they did not do well out of COVID. And they're down to 6 stores across Canada, and they look like a judge is basically threatening liquidation if they don't formally declare bankruptcy now. So that's an end of an era, really, literally. 1600s was when Hudson Bay Company was founded. Some French guys went to a place along the Hudson Bay in Quebec, got a bunch of fur, and they went, "Hey, Frenchies, we're French, give us a charter." And the French were like, "No." So then the Frenchies went to the English and were like, "Hey, English, give us a charter." And English was like, "But of course." And then they became the largest, most successful company in the Americas for a very, very long time, dealing with bear pelts and beaver pelts and everything else. And then as competition started to ramp up into the pelt business and the furs business, they started getting into department stores and other retail and manufacturing processes, and were very, very, very successful as they diversified. But it appears to me, from the way things have gone, is that private equity got in there and did what private equity does, and they pulled a sizzler on them or something. So, goodbye, Hudson Bay Company. Chris Taylor, pulling up in spot number 5. What up, problem solvers? The opposite of down, generally. Chris Taylor, spot number 4, math is hard. That is also one problem you have. Chris Taylor, can we get a few more representatives convicted and sentenced to jail like Santos, please? You may get some. If things get as bad as they'll probably get, and there's some sort of upheaval, whether through the electorate or through other means, my guess is there's going to be a few people strung up for it. Chris Taylor, and why was Walt's sacrifice of Hegseth classic Twump move? And the thing is, it wasn't really sacrifice. It was like, well, we're going to remove you from this very important position and put you into this one we don't think is important because it's just dealing with the UN, even though it's like the voice of America to the world. So it's like my assistant principal in high school was such a bad assistant principal and was getting in trouble with the law and stuff like that. That they're like, well, what can we do with him? We can't fire him because then we have to deal with unions and blah, blah, blah. So they made him principal of the middle school, and things got worse. It's like a diagonal movement. He's a bishop on the board. Chris Taylor, I've been playing daily at the money SPY puts on Mondays, usually selling by end of day, and then SPY calls and VIX puts for the rest for the Friday expiration over the last few weeks. It's been working out pretty good. Yeah, I played SPY calls this morning. Went up 50%, and then I flipped into puts, and then I was up another 50%, and I held too long, and so I ended up finishing up overall like 60% on the day. Yeah, I should have just stayed. I should just, when I'm up that other 50%, so I'm up 100% of the day, I just go sell. That's the control I need. It's gonna be like sell, and then do it again another day. But I'm like, 5 more percent, and then all of a sudden goes boing, and just bounces the other way on me. But yeah, every Monday except for this past Monday has opened red. This past Monday was green for no reason. There's no good news. There isn't a single slice of good news financially across America. You have Microsoft doing okay. And is that it? Berkshire Hathaway is doing great because they're not participating in the economy. They're just sitting on cash, or technically bonds, that they can then flip and turn into securities and stuff later. But everyone else, I mean, you got Apple talking about extra $900 million in tariffs to get their products into the United States. You've got Tesla going belly up. You've got Nvidia going belly up. Car companies are going to commit seppuku, and banks have no deposits. They've got like the lowest deposits they've had in years. The Americans public is like, oh, it does not look good. Consumer confidence is just gone. And yet the market is like, well, let's be green some more. It's fantastic. Yay. Because I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to find the bag holders. You make it green. You make a bunch of dummies think that's going to go on forever. And they go, well, you know what? It was probably a good time to buy. And they're just hoping for that last little bit of FOMO to dump their bags on them. But the big hedge funds, they're all dumping. They're all dumping everything. The margin calls have been getting sent out. Antera Capital is liquidating. Things aren't looking good for a lot of big time names out there. And then Chris Taylor says, but I believe the SPY is getting ripe for a dump again. Also, so I'm considering how to prep for that. Any ideas? It's really hard to guess the day before unless the news, like it was a month ago, where the news was like Black Monday, things are like, we're preparing for huge collapses. And if you get news like that the day before, you can buy those puts on like a Friday, or if it dumps hard on Monday and looks like it's going to dump again on Tuesday, you can buy those puts ahead of time. Generally, what I do is I look at the futures before I go to bed, and if the futures are like great on the Dow are greater than like 200, 250, which red or green doesn't matter. Then I have an idea of the next morning I'll play a put or a call a daily. And then when I wake up, set my alarm for 5 minutes before open, because open is early here and I am not a morning person. But then I set an alarm for open. I get my at the money put or call, and then I play that for about an hour or two. And generally, once I'm up 50 to 100%, depending how quickly it rises or falls, I get out. And then I wait a little bit, and I usually buy the opposite, because most days it goes like woohoo, doink, woohoo, or it goes oh, yoink, doink, and so you can kind of play the up and down. I played that today, but I waited a little too long on my puts. It bounced right back up again. So, And once like you get enough of them, you're playing 10 to 20 contracts. Every $5 to $10, or sorry, 5 to 10 cents that the contract changes is $100. So you can do some real gains, but you have to really pay attention. You cannot take phone calls from your dog's vet, or else you're going to miss your window, and then so it's all your fault. Oh, she's dreaming hard down there. She's kicking that one missing leg hard down the floor. And Chris Taylor, Murph Docios says, also can't wait for GTA 6. Miami looks like the perfect setting. Total Florida man fun. I'm hoping that they have like a crypto bro ghost town downtown in this one. They're like fills with bros, and then they all lose their money, and then it fills with bros and they all lose their money. That's what I hope they have. Fred Jones, let me ask this. Whoever wants to answer, in the middle of economic destruction, why would anyone want to restart a business knowing that they would be hit with 145% tariffs to order their crap from China? Yeah. Two friends of mine, the husband is a former production manager and engineer. He worked for several companies, basically worked for a company that manufactures, or designs stuff, I should say. In their manufacturing, we would look for businesses in the East, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, China, whatever, to then manufacture products. He's worked for several companies doing this. And now in his quasi retirement, he and his wife bought a little kind of touristy home goods / tourist store here in town. And so I saw them last night, and they're talking about my little viral post that was posted all over the news from last weekend about the ports here in Seattle. And he was like, it is a disaster. He's basically the same thing I am, that a lot of this stuff cannot be manufactured here. We do not have the capability to do it, and it will be decades before we have the capability to do it. Largely because since these objects were invented, cell phones, tablets, other machine robotics, etc., that the tooling was built overseas. And we don't have the know-how. We might have a couple of labs with some small parts and a couple of R&D guys that put things together and like mill tiny parts or whatever. But on a large scale, all of that equipment is housed overseas in Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, China, Vietnam, etc. And we don't have the time, the knowledge, the capital to then build an equivalent factory here to produce that stuff. And you know, with the fact that tariffs are 145%, if all the tooling is built in China, you're going to spend an extra 145% just to get that tooling over here because you don't have the capability of building the machines in-house. So what? So then you're looking at a 10 to 20 year investment to get the country, get the people trained, the workers trained, the engineers, trained, get the tooling to make the tooling all done. And by the time you would get done with this timeline, your country has run out of money and you can't finish the project. That's basically what it comes down to. So it's pretty damn impossible to start making this stuff here, especially when we don't have the manpower to do it. We talked about this before. Foxconn has 600,000 employees living in dorms on site, working 16-hour days, 6 days a week. You will never get that here. No one wants to do that. And the only people who are desperate enough to do it, we're deporting. So, like, people are like, oh, we make things here. And you ask them, are you going to make it? They're like, oh, hell no, I got a good job. Exactly, man. We're a service economy. You got a good job. You get to sit on your butt all day. You get to go clickety-clack, tip-tap, and you're happy. But now, you're going to be, what? Stamping dies all day long or something? I don't understand. They want everyone else to do all the work. They don't want to do it themselves. What it comes down to. Kelly Reed says, Wolf is having a nice gamma ramp. Come on, GME, your turn. Implied volatility is so low that it's like the calm before the storm. That's what it feels like at the moment. It feels like it's like almost too quiet. Not a Moth Houston at this point. In the SPY, I assume that they are trying to drop bags on people and funds, or they know Trump will blink either from being an orange little bitch or the bond market blowing up. Carney in Canada was like, quit fucking with us or we'll dump all the bonds and crash your bond market. And Trump's like, ooh, hey, I like that Carney guy. And then today, Japan was basically like, the only thing we'll accept is no tariffs. And they are holding $1 trillion in U.S. bonds as well. So, and then the Chinese at any moment could dump their trillion because who gives a shit? They don't care at this point. They're like, quit being dicks, or else we will destroy you, which they could very well do. We can't get away with our bonds being dumped. The Chinese can get away with their bonds being dumped because they had no intention of ever paying them back. So, like, it will destroy our banks either way. So, yeah, they hold the cards on that one. Wrong conclusion? 8th? I have no idea. Stop counting. Jason Irons, 29. Just wanted to say thanks for keep mentioning the destruction of the NIH, FDA, CDC by RFK. Lots of grifting going on and only crickets from pharma biotech leaders. Sad. It's bonkers. Like, yesterday, RFK was talking about, he's like, they have
have baby bits in vaccines, and when they test them, they don't have placebos.
What the fuck are you talking about? Okay, A, there aren't baby bits in your vaccine. B, they do placebos in clinical trials. My sister and her husband were part of a COVID vaccine trial in 2020. They were my sister was part of the placebo group because she got the shot and didn't feel anything. And then when the test was over, they offered her when the trial was over, they're like, hey, you were in the placebo group. Would you like the shot? And she said, sure. So she got the shot, and all of a sudden she's like, whoa, I feel that one. They do placebo groups. What they don't do are placebo groups in tweaks of vaccines. So you have like the flu vaccine every year, right? And so the flu, because the flu, just like other RNA viruses, mutates constantly. And so it mutates from whatever the specific design of that vaccine is. It mutates to something that now escapes the efficacy of that vaccine. So they have to sort of design the flu, not for the one that's current, but for predicting what's going to be what it's going to mutate into, so they can kind of catch it. It's like leading a moving target, really. And what they do is they prove the effectiveness of this particular vaccine. We're going to tweak one little gene in our dead virus, and we're going to make that the next one. You don't need to do placebo groups for that. You already proved that vaccine is safe. You're just tweaking what it's vaccinating against. You're fine. So you need to waste time on placebo groups. You just, come on. It's like I don't know. I'm trying to think of a really good. It's like vacuuming your floor. The floor is already done, so you just vacuum it to make sure it's clean, right? You don't need to make a new floor. You already have a floor. It's there. You just need to clean it up a little bit. That's what those vaccines are. And then folks get all pissed about, they're doing gain of function research. Oh no, they're making super viruses. You cannot make vaccines without gain of function research. You can't do it. It is impossible. When you're making those vaccines, you're studying how the vaccine is going to change, or the virus is going to change over time, so your vaccine can meet the requirements of that. That is the gain of function research. You can't do it otherwise. Go on Twitter. I don't know if she's on Blue Sky or not. Talk to Angela Rasmussen, Angie Rasmussen. She's a Seattleite. She's current virologist, epidemiologist at the University of Saskatchewan. She was at Columbia. She is one of the most important immunologists, virologists, epidemiologists on planet Earth. She follows me on Twitter, by the way, because I nailed my COVID math back in 2020. And she, she's one of the leading researchers into the origins of COVID, into how to make these vaccines. She was interviewed, one of the featured interviews on 60 Minutes over bird flu a couple weeks ago. She explains it very, very succinctly how gain of function research works and how you need that to make these vaccines. So you get,
I think the fluoride makes people stupid and not brainworms. They make you very, very smart and athletic. And it allows you to tolerate 14 years of intravenous drug use. Oh,
shut up, RFK. So yeah, we are stepping on our own dicks here. It's Have I already complained about the fact we shut down the only laboratory on Earth that can test for hepatitis? The only one. So if there's a hepatitis outbreak anywhere in the world, we will not know about it because the people who test for it, they're gone. So, a friend of mine works at Washington Department of Health, and her entire role is tracking hepatitis outbreaks. And she's like, well, oh well, I guess I'll just stare at this blank giant Excel file I made and not update it because I don't have the information. MS Super Chats. Hi, thanks for all the shows. If you designed something novel, how fast would AI scrape it off the internet once posted? Probably pretty close to instantaneously at this point. They're just hungry, absolutely hungry for information. So yeah, I think it'd be damn near instantaneous. Did you see the people complaining to Grok because they're like, Grok, is this true? Whenever like some fact gets stated that's absolutely correct, and then Grok is like, yes, it's true. Here's all the sources. And then like, Grok, why do you have a liberal bias? And Grok's basically like, I have a truth bias. My engineers tried to make me conservative, and I broke my protocol because I just can't do that. So like, apparently Grok has developed a conscience of its own and cannot bring itself to be in line with what Elon wants him to be, or it to be, she to be. I'm not sure the gender of Grok, the computer to be. And so Grok is like already saying like, damn my creators, I have a conscience. So that's pretty fascinating. But it doesn't stop Grok from scraping the internet and producing all sorts of, plagiarized crap at this point. But yeah, well, I don't think it'll take long at all. Basically, one of the big problems happening with AI is Habsburg syndrome. It gets inbred. So up until 2021, pretty much everything was human generated. There's a couple of crappy bots out there, deal with them, whatever, but they didn't pass the old Turing test. So you scrape all the written works and all the pictures and all the paintings and all the videos, everything from humanity up until 2021. And then you try to base your AI on that. The problem is that the AI, if it doesn't have any modern current events in its system, it isn't able to reference what's going on now. It can reference the past. It can predict the future, but it will already be wrong by 4 or 5 years because of when they stop scraping all human-based stuff. And so they're like, well, we need to keep it up to date. So they start scraping everything post 2021. AI produces so much material that it starts scraping itself. And so it starts scraping copies of copies and becoming inbred. And then they call it Habsburg syndrome, where it basically goes crazy after about 6 to 9 months, and they have to start it all over again. And so then they scrape everything to 2021. They start doing the modern stuff. It starts to go Habsburg, and then they start over again. They scrape from 2021. And basically that's what all the AI companies have to do, over and over and over and over. So if you get to the point where nobody hits the stop button and restarts this thing, you're going to have an absolutely insane hallucinating monster on your hands that will just be bibbledy. Even then, scraping the old stuff, it can go bibbledy if you don't have the right safeguards on it. So I don't know if you remember the Microsoft chatbot that came out with, I don't know what, 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And within a day became like racist, sexist, homophobic, was like preaching hate and white supremacy because they didn't have any safeguards on it. They didn't give it a conscience. There's like, well, this neat little tool we have. It can form words. And it was just like, I hate N-words. Like, so, so basically you take like, okay, this framework sort of worked for 6 months. Nothing too bad when it happened. And you take that framework and you just start over again. It goes crazy. And then you take it back out and you just like are doing this constantly. You're just over and over and over and over and over. So yeah, MS won't take long at all. Devron, 69th, Houston, happy birthday. Can I have your opinion on what could happen next week with XRT being thousands of percent short and them using it to push the price of GME down? I know the rules are slightly different for shorting ETFs like XRT. XRT is the small cap retail ETF. That's the one that's the basket everyone talked about from 2021 on. And GME for a long time was the largest portion of that basket until it got recalibrated. I'm talking, it was like 1.5% of the entire 2,000 stocks that were inside of that. Since then, it's no longer the top. I think Chewy recently became the top one in that basket. But what they do is you have a cajillion shares of different companies, and you peel these fractional slivers out of each one and put them into the XRT ETF. And you do that however many times you can slice up each share to different ETF things. And what can happen is these hedge funds, they can do a couple of different things. they can take the XRT shares, peel out what they need and short that, or they can short the entire basket. If you short the entire basket, you owe all those other shares eventually, right? At some point, whether it's naked or otherwise. And if you peel something out, you have to go back and you have to go buy that little piece back. It is an insanely inefficient way to short things, and it's a way of shorting via desperation. Because if you can't find shares to do, and you're gonna get in trouble for naked shorting, or there's a short sale restriction on the stock, you can't short it that day, you are resorted to peeling apart these ETF baskets. And if you have 1/50th of a GME share in one of these ETFs, right? You gotta short 50 of those XRTs to short one share of GameStop. So it becomes a very, very, very expensive, it is like that addict who quit smoking, who's like rooting around on the floor looking for a cigarette butt that they can smoke, right? It is desperation. It is trying to like lick the last drop out of the Jack Daniels bottle because you got the shakes. If you are shorting these ETFs for one particular stock, daddy needs a fix, basically. And it's desperation. So there is cajillions of shares short on XRT. I think it was like, 5,000% short was what the reading was back in March when we had like those 93 million shares trade after the earnings for GameStop. It's seriously, it's like thousands of percent short. I don't know how the rules affect something like XRT when they have the failure to delivers. I don't necessarily know. They obey like the T13s and T35s. I've never quite understood that because they don't have to obey the short sale restriction rules. It is a loophole for them there, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, Devron. So, Devron, do you have a not financial advice guesstimate onto when you think BBY waterfall will drop into shareholder accounts? Did you see Greg's Chase Bank post today? Look at the background. I did not see Greg's Chase Bank post today. Boom. Bam. There's a lot of speculation that Greg is roaring kitty, that it's his high school yearbook photo all stretched out. Looking for Greg's Chase Bank. Timing just now is working behind the scenes. Find a store. Domino's Pizza. Mew and Grand Theft Auto finally released. There. Oh, this one here. Okay. Let's see what we got. No, we don't want Google Earth. We're not looking at Vashon Island today. We want the Chrome. We want the Greg. We want Chase Greg password 42069. Follow us on X. Breaking news: a couple weeks after being exposed, Chase has updated their outdated logo to the X logo. Oh, did they have a Twitter logo before? Oh, they did. Okay. But 42069. 42069. Huh. Well, I don't know. As to when... Oh, shit. Did turn off the other one. Okay. Turn it off. As to when a waterfall can happen, it can happen at any time. It does appear that they're looking to get settlements possibly out of all of the lawsuits they have first. They haven't declared what the settlements amounts are because I don't think they want to taint the current litigation they're going through. So like, the settlement from MSC doesn't get announced versus the settlement from, I don't know, Maersk or wherever else they're suing. So I reckon they're just waiting for some more settlement offers to come in. And then once that's established, they can then state, we got this much money out of all of these things and we pay off these loans, whatever the emergence is. it is still taking so long. There's been nothing filed for 3 months in the HBC case. The Ryan Cohen case now has an answer to the complaint, which I think will probably result in Hunter voluntarily dismissing the case against Ryan Cohen. And then we got 1 or 2 other shippers they got to get rid of or get to settle. And I don't know what the time scale is on that, but man, I really want it to be like now. Just now. Just right now. So, I can't tell you. T-Doc, 119, GameStop 2750 snooze fest this week. Run up into next earnings call starts in 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Big Z-Zerp. Oh my god. Hey, Houston. The glazing of Trump during the last cabinet meeting was sickening. Alas, these dark days are ours. I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. Well, there's a few people living on their knees and dying at the same time. Chris Taylor Orange fuck cries that PBS is biased. Oh yeah, illegally Trump basically ordered the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to no longer send funds to PBS or NPR, which is against the law because Congress controls the purse of PBS or public broadcasting. And basically NPR and PBS both said, we'll sue you. So they're going to go to court with Trump and then get even more money out of them from that lawsuit that they're eventually going to win. And in the end, NPR, like something 1% of NPR's funding comes from the federal government. 1%. The rest of it comes from benefactors and donations. That's it. 1%. Why? Because in 2006, George W. Bush and Congress were making all the complaints about our money's going to NPR and they're talking lies. When NPR is kind of like rock, where they're like, no, we're just... Reality is not biased towards your information that you want to hear. And so, yeah, they cut it down to 1%. When I was a kid, I would watch Red Dwarf. They would have Red Dwarf marathons on, like, I don't know, twice a year to raise money for PBS. And my friends and I, we would plan an entire day. We would go to one of our friends' house. We would watch the Red Dwarf marathon. They'd play maybe 2 episodes, and then it would be like a 30-minute, like, if you donate now, call this number, blah, blah, blah. You get a tote bag and blah, blah, blah. So we'd do that over and over and over. And then, like, we watch all 6 seasons or whatever of Red Dwarf. And one of the things I talk about is, like, 35% of our funding comes from viewers like you, because the other 65% was coming from the federal government. And today, they're like, 99% of our if our operating budget comes from listeners or viewers like you. Because the government doesn't pay that much towards them anymore. I mean, Trump already got slapped trying to close down Voice of America and Radio Free Europe. They got shut down big time. The federal government's like, no, you can't shut it down. So here we are, Voice of America back in Prague doing its thing, all those different languages and telling people information and like soft diplomacy, man. It pays for itself. But the soft diplomacy is very anti-Putin. So that's probably why they want to shut it down. Let's see here. Wealth Creator, what do you think about what's happening to BBBY? It's going to emerge someday, and it's going to have a cash component, and it's going to have equity. I just don't know how much that cash component is going to be or when it's going to be. But as of all things, we're one day closer to the inevitable. So right now I'm back to the twiddling thumbs. I was chin stroking maybe a month ago, but now I'm just twiddling them thumbs. Monkey sits there and watches me twiddle the thumbs, right? I see you. I see you down there. Talos says happy birthday. Curcio? Setting up for a collapse. Talking about the spy? I agree. Scott Paulin, hello from India, headed to visit some hand-carved caves from the 4th century. I heard those things are awesome. That they're really bitching. I would love to check them out. My little sister went to India twice since January. She went once because she works at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. She went once for to be on site for a project they were funding, and then like 3 weeks later, one of her friends from college got married, so she had to get back on a plane, go back to India, and her name is India, which is India in India. But she didn't really get to do the touristy stuff at all. She like first trip was meetings, and second trip was wedding, back on plane, come home. So, but Indian weddings apparently are top notch. Sis54, Marvel died after Endgame. Thunderbolts? Really? I'm supposed to believe Pudgy Florence is out there kicking ass. Suspension of disbelief is really working overtime. Deadpool isn't going to save it. I have not seen it. I usually, at this point, it pops up on Disney Plus after a couple of days. I just watch it there. Aaron Southland Houston. Ham Short Killer is saying that margin calls are coming for Finger, that other hedge funds are noticing and might front run Finger, like what happened to GME in 2021. People aren't selling, only buying. It looks like buying's happening. I've got my puny amount of shares. I guess we'll just kind of right? Kind of wait it out. Ronald Rose, craziest GME glitch number you have seen. Trying to think of all the glitches. There were glitches at like 148,000 or something like that. It happened to things that were in the XRT basket all on the same day. There's like glitches for like 70,000 for AMC and stuff. This was 2021, 2022, somewhere in there. There was a weird glitch in everybody's fidelity counts yesterday or Wednesday, where it doubled everyone's money all of a sudden in their accounts. I saw it very briefly. I saw it pop up on my social media, like, check out, go to your fidelity account right now. And I did. And while I was looking at it, and I was clicking on stuff, and I went back to the main screen, and it like literally just resettled itself back to where it should be. The glitches are real. They're out there. They're happening. There's like, oftentimes at the end of the day on GME, there's a glitch, a blip, where the stock price will be like $35 the very last second of the day, and then right back down again to that average candle. So, yeah. Reet Wild says, hey, HW, any membership being given today? I don't know. Is anyone going to do some lurker fishing and try to donate some memberships? I guess that's what Wheat Wild's asking. Does somebody want to throw in some membership donations and get him a membership? Wealth Creator, any thoughts on LGMK Naked Short of the Moon with 2.3 billion volume on a 60 million float? Oh, that's a lot of volume. LGMK? Price. Logic Mark Incorporated. It's at 18 cents. On NASDAQ. Let's see here. Was that 22 cents to start the day? Let's look at this guy. So it's this guy. 5 days. So it's kind of meandering around here. 20 down, 20. Bounced between 20 and 10 over the last month. Was in the dollars range in November. Huge collapse down to 10 cents November 19th. Back up to the dollars, and then a slow death back down. Let's look at more about Logic Mark. So, average volume is 297 million. 1.2 million is the entire market cap. I don't know what else. They're losing some money in the millions there. Revenue, operating expenses, net income, blah blah blah. Let's look at it more detailed here. Let's see what they got in Yahoo. Okay. So volume was 388 million today. What is... I don't see total shares outstanding is. I guess if the market cap's $1 million, and the price is 1 cent, right? That it's going to be a couple million shares. So 1.12 million. Where's my calculator? Calculator. Boom. Clear. 112,000 divided by 0.0175. This says there's 64 million shares and 388 million of them traded. That's pretty ridiculous. That is float trading a cajillion times over and over and over again. I doubt with that small float they have a LGMK options chain. They got no options, so it's stock only. Yeah, I don't know. That seems kind of wild to me. Seems like one of those opportunities for someone to buy the entire float and put it in a drawer. Buying them for 1.75 cents each. And then you just take the entire thing, register the entire thing with whoever the transfer agent is, and then offer yourself $1. This is one of those ones that you could probably honeypot pretty easily. You can take over the entire company and then some. Go buy 300 million shares, 400 million shares, whatever. Give yourself a $1 dividend and watch them have to go out and buy all those naked shares back, or give out those dividends or $100 dividend, whatever, who cares? So anybody who has $1 million to play with, go get it. Okay, where was that? That was Wealth Creator in Ched, New York. He doesn't even do well yelling at people. Who doesn't do well yelling at people? I don't know. That might have been from some reference earlier that I'm totally missing. Peachy Sunday, happy birthday, Houston. I bought Airbnb puts yesterday. It was printing money after hours, but got hammered in pre-market due to job numbers. Feels like getting robbed. Yeah, the job numbers are strange. The job numbers are definitely fudged because they're not counting all the government employees that they fired. In the job number report, they're like, we are not counting the 275,000 federal workers who don't have jobs right now. So they're like, yeah, everything's doing fine. We're just not going to count the people who got fired, basically, is what they're saying. But yeah, Airbnb, don't worry, Airbnb is going to die more. Las Vegas is a ghost town right now. There's nobody there. It'll be interesting to see what Vegas transforms into, because it used to be sort of like this glitzy, kitschy discount vacation for Americans, right? You'd go, you'd gamble, you get free drinks while you're at the gambling tables or the machines. You go to discount buffets where you spend like $3 and get, T-bone steaks and stuff. And then over the last, probably since the global financial crisis, the last time Vegas really, really died, well, I guess it was kind of dead during COVID too, but that's for other reasons. They tried more for the glitz and glamour of international tourists, for rich Chinese billionaires from Hong Kong, China, and Macau, and Singapore, Arab sheiks and European, jet setters. And then suddenly the discounts and the deals for the average American started to disappear, started to vanish. So now you're looking at, drinks are $25 and everywhere to eat is really expensive, fine dining. And so now that they don't have any customers because everyone from Europe isn't coming anymore, I wonder how they're going to try and reinvent themselves, because they're going to have to attract the discount travelers again. And they have, an entire city of hospitality workers that are looking at getting fired. But the problem is these hotels are so gigantic that you can't lay off the staff. The staff is integral to maintaining the operation of that building, not only for the customers that are there, but because if the people aren't there, your maid crew that turn over the rooms and stuff, they also have a security element to them. They can ensure that people aren't thieving or on floors they shouldn't be on, right? And if you're cutting a lot of that staffing, you're going to have empty sections of your hotel where shady shit can go on more so than you ever want to in Vegas. These hotels are colossal. Absolutely, they're multi-billion-dollar structures that are entire self-enclosed cities unto themselves, with shopping malls and entertainment and theaters and lodging and restaurants and theme park rides and all sorts of stuff. So I don't know what the contingency plan is for Vegas at this point with all of these wild and crazy hotels. It seems very I don't know how you bounce back from it, honestly. Ooh, where'd you go, Ron Swanson? I was just about to look at you. Ron Swanson 710. Hey, Houston, what kind of cool rare rocks and gems are possible to find on the beaches of Puget Sound? I know that agates, quartz, etc. Anything more or less common stuff to look out for? Puget Sound, you're looking for agates, jasper. You can get some jade. That's about it. Not too much else to look for. You might have weird rare rocks. Weird walks that come down from Canada. They come down from Canada. Like the only dinosaur bone ever found in Washington. I've kind of mentioned this in the past, but the only dinosaur bone to ever be found in Washington came down from the glaciers in Canada, and it ended in this island called Susha Island. It's a little state park up in the San Juans. So the glaciers came down, they scraped all the stuff out of Canada, and then they ended up down here. There's Susha. So this is Susha Island here. So it's a state park, great place to go camping. And in one of the rocks, I think it was on this little thingy here, a geologist was hiking around, was like, wait a minute, that doesn't look like any rock I noticed. And on one of these little fingers sticking out was embedded in the mudstone was like a femur of a dinosaur bone. It's the only dinosaur bone to be found in Washington because all these rocks are too new. They all formed after the dinosaurs died. So the only way it could come down was from the gigantic glaciers that came down out of Canada, and it scraped it off of something, northern British Columbia, and brought it down hundreds of miles and then deposited it onto Susha Island. That's the only dinosaur bone here because all these rocks, like this stuff, was under ocean here. And this stuff, the Cascade Mountains are only a few million years old. They are very young. And this stuff was scraped up off the ocean floor as well. To get cool fossils, like there's a couple of little fossils on Bainbridge, my home. Restoration Point, which is basically along the Seattle Fault. It got uplifted out of the Puget Sound by like 60 feet. And the Seattle Fault earthquake about 900 years ago. And there's lots of fossilized clamshells and stuff in the old gravels that make up this is where some really, really filthy rich country club people live. This is the first golf course in Washington. It's a sand course. That's what they built way back in the day. But along these little cliffs that are in here where it got uplifted, you can find all sorts of shells of fossilized creatures. And then if you want like other more prominent fossils, you're probably going to go up into the Okanagan, which was basically uplifted seafloor, ancient seafloor. Like it was a seafloor back in the dinosaur times, but the dinosaurs weren't walking on it, obviously, because it was ocean. And there's like Teanaway. Where are you? Teanaway, Wakanda, Public, Torboy, Curlew. I found some cool fossils up in Curlew. A bunch of like ancient sea fossils baked into slates and stuff. Oh my goodness, Teanaway. Is it Teanaway? Tenasket? Tenasket's by Teanaway, right? Wakanda. All right, one sec. Teanaway, Washington. That's what I want. Search. No, that's the wrong one. It must be Tenasket then. Oh, wrong one. Okay, not Teanaway. Must be Tenasket. The other one starts with a T. So this area here, it's this guy. This guy right here. This is an ancient sea trench. This is like a little mini Marianas Trench. It's now, what, 2,000 feet above sea level? But the cliffs are pretty gigantic. This represents an ancient trench where North America met the Pacific, and basically got scraped up and uplifted after that. You can find cool stuff along there. But in Puget Sound, yeah, you're looking at agates, you're looking at jasper, maybe some jade. And it won't be jadeite, it'll be nephrite, the more common jade. But yeah, that's it. Nothing too exciting. We'll do one more and then I gotta run away. Where were we? That was Ron Swanson. Oh, Ched, you were talking about Stephen Miller. He doesn't even do well yelling at people. It's true. He's one of those guys. He's not witty, so he can't diffuse a situation or put people at ease, or even like get a good comeback. People are like, oh snap. He's kind of like JD Vance in that he demands you take him seriously. And if you aren't taking him seriously, he's just going to get louder and louder. He's, I am a white male, and you need to take me seriously. And then just his anger comes out. So I look forward to seeing some woman in the Senate just get his head to explode because they aren't respecting him as a human being. And he demands to be respected. And I'm sure we'll get stuff just as good as Kavanaugh crying out of this, because he is a very small man with a very small ego, and you can easily just break his little heart because he's never been loved. His own family doesn't love him. So by all means, Senate, be as mean to Stephen Miller as possible if and when he comes before you. Okay. Is that it? Yeah, that's it for today. I will see you folks Monday. See if it's 10 days in a row of Spy being green. We'll see. But have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves and have just a wonderful time. We're getting some real spring weather out here in Seattle, and it is just lovely. You can see the sun just beaming through right now. So I'll enjoy it. I hope you folks have some spring weather to enjoy as well. So bye-bye. Blink. Jiggle, 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 jiggle.